Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday Friends. This is Deb Burton with RI Elder Info. As many of you know, and those of you who don't know, RI Elder Info is the most comprehensive resource for seniors, caregivers, and the professionals who serve them here in Rhode Island. Our specialty is getting information out to the people who need it. And every week on Friday Friends, I share a different nonprofit organization that is really doing some amazing work out in the community that you really need to know about. And it wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. And for Friday Friends this week, we have the Visit Kit.
Family and friends of people with dementia, we need your insight. We're introducing Visit, an activity kit and an app that helps you and your loved one have the most positive interactions. Take our survey at thevisitkit.com and help us deliver the very best solution. Thank you.
We love the Visit Kit. They have a wonderful concept going, and I really hope everybody does go take their survey. So this week we are speaking with Laurie from One Neighborhood Builders. She's going to tell us what that's about. Welcome, Laurie.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Deb, for having me today.
Yes, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Can you tell everyone what One Neighborhood Builders is and does?
Sure. Thanks again. I'm Laurie Moise. I'm the Director of Community Health Integration at One Neighborhood Builders. One Neighborhood Builders is a community development organization. We're based out of Olneyville in Providence. We work on affordable housing. We work on addressing root causes of health disparities and embracing innovation and building community development. Our mission is to develop affordable housing and engage neighbors across Greater Providence to cultivate safe, healthy, and vibrant communities.
Wow, that's an amazing mission statement there. So when you talk about healthcare disparities, I don't know that everybody understands what that actually means. So could you talk a little bit about what a healthcare disparity, what that means?
Sure. As you know, Providence is a very diverse city, and across the city, we see there are many inequities, as in folks that may look different or have a different genetic makeup do not live as long as their neighbors. Right. We find that our folks in the 02909 zip code have a lower life expectancy rate than those of other zip codes in the state.
I see. Yeah. So what do you think that might be caused by? Is that by the environment that the individuals are in? Is it housing? Is it healthcare? What's impacting that?
It's all of the above, Deb, actually. So when we think about health disparities, we look at a term that we like to call the social determinants of health. That looks at the genetic makeup of a person, their educational background, the environment that they live in, their housing. We look at their income and also their access to healthcare, transportation, to food, and things of that nature.
Yeah, I recall reading someplace where there are certain areas of the state where there are even food deserts, where people don't even have access to healthy foods. And that really caught me by surprise, that's really a real barrier. So how does One Neighborhood Builders work to resolve some of these things?
Oh, absolutely. One Neighborhood Builders is the backbone agency for the Central Providence Health Equity Zone. Health Equity Zones is a model that was established here in Rhode Island. We are the first of its kind in this nation. And a health equity zone is run by the Department of Health, where we work with community organizations in our neighborhoods to address the needs of our community. So what that looks like is the various health equity zones across the state. We work directly with our community members. We survey folks, we speak with them regularly, and we hear what's going on. What is the need in the community? What are you struggling with? And One Neighborhood Builders, we're the backbone agency for, as I mentioned, Central Providence, which many may not know which neighborhoods those include. So I'll let you know that we work with the Olneyville community, Federal Hill, Valley, and Hartford. And those are our primary core neighborhoods that we work with in order to address some of the need. So as we learn from our community members, we work together with various community organizations that we like to call our collaborative. And we come together and address the needs of our neighbors in our community. We recently had a needs assessment that we completed in winter of 2019, where folks, mentioned the needs that they had. Some of the things that were uplifted during that time was the cost of housing. We spoke about needing affordable and quality childcare and things of that nature. So it's interesting to hear what our neighbors are saying. And it's also exciting to know that here in Rhode Island, there are solutions that we are trying to work on to address those needs.
So the health equity zone concept was something that actually started here in Rhode Island?
Yes.
I did not know that. That is awesome.
Yes.
Go Rhode Island. It's good that we're actually leading the charge for change. So I like the fact that you're actually having conversations with the members of the community. I think many times there's someone sitting in an office someplace who says, well, this is going to help the community, but they never actually talked to the community.
Exactly.
So how do you do that outreach? How do you reach all the members of the community, or is it only certain members that you reach out to, or how do you ensure that you're really getting a representation of the whole community?
That's a great question. We don't do this alone, I must say. We have a strong community org collaboration, about 25 plus organizations that work in our communities. And we work with them to connect with their constituents. We have a steering committee that has representatives from housing authorities and also healthcare. And we also have direct service folks that are on our steering committee that can help drive this effort. Some of our partners include Integra Care New England, Federal Hill House. We have Providence Community Health Centers, Providence Housing Authority, and they all sit on our steering committee. We then have organizations that are neighborhood links, and we like to term our neighborhood links as our folks that can allow us access into their constituents, the neighborhoods that they're working in out in Federal Hill, Hartford, Olneyville, and Valley. So those partners help us engage their community members. We don't do this alone. We definitely have a strong commitment from our community organizations to work with us in order to hear the voices of the folks that they work with.
That's awesome. So what kind of services are you able to provide, or your partners able to provide for the residents in those communities? So I know, for example, for many seniors, transportation is an issue. You might be able to get access to transportation to the doctor's appointment, but not to the grocery store, things like that. Do you do that kind of thing? Do you offer any kind of visits for folks? What kinds of hands-on services are available?
Absolutely. We have a core group of community health workers that work within our neighborhoods. We have a cross-organizational cohort of community health workers from different organizations, and we come together. Historically, we had about 5 community health workers in our neighborhoods from all of the organizations that I listed in our steering committee. With the hit of the pandemic, we saw a lot more need in our community, and we were able to receive funding from the Department of Health to increase our hands-on access and direct service work. And we have about 12 organizations and community health workers on the ground now. Some of the services that we provide, we help folks apply for unemployment benefits. We connect them with other organizations like Federal Hill House or Family Services Rhode Island, and Clinica Esperanza, and some of those key contributors in our neighborhoods in order to address some of these barriers that folks definitely have right now during the pandemic. So I'm grateful to know that come March, it was a all hands on deck move. We were able to connect our residents to resources that our strong community partners were able to provide at this time and continue to provide.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like, because you're working in a very different, each one of the communities you listed are all very different. And with the community health workers, love the community health worker whole concept, the whole program. I think it sounds like it's a good way to be able to reach folks where they're at in a way that works for them. And if I'm understanding correctly, that's really what the HESs are about. The health equity zones are, it's not, I know everything, so I'm going to come in and help you. But really getting to know who are the people in your neighborhood. Ooh, didn't mean to parrot Mr. Rogers, but
Yes, that's exactly right, Deb. And we take pride in knowing that our community health workers, we take pride in the fact that they are from the neighborhoods that they're working in, right? So we deliberately work with folks that work in their neighborhoods and understand the cultural makeup and understand the background and speak the language of the people in order to address the needs in real time, but also in a way, in a capacity that our community members will feel safe and feel welcome and understood and heard. So that is one model that we stick and believe in, working with community members and community leaders in order to address some of the health disparities in our neighborhoods.
And so the services that you provide, are they available in multiple languages?
Yes, right now, primarily English and Spanish.
Okay. And any other languages available or not quite yet?
Not quite yet. I do speak Haitian Creole, so I'm always here to lend a hand to our community health workers. We definitely are looking to increase our language capacity. English and Spanish right now is our primary language, and we see the need there. And as we grow and as we continue to increase our community health worker network, we're looking to do that.
Yeah. And what does the future look like for One Neighborhood Builders? What's the, say your down the road goal? What are you hoping for? What do you need? What would make it better?
Definitely resources, right? We are finding financially and also systemic, right? We are finding that the disparities in health have definitely been brought to the forefront during this pandemic. We are seeing that there is a high density issue here in Providence where we are having the most COVID positive rates right now, along with other high density neighborhoods across the state. But we're finding that there is a clear disparity across the board. And folks that are undocumented are not being able to access the resources that they need in order to survive this pandemic, right? In order to be able to make ends meet. Lucky enough, we've had some great partnerships that have formed through this pandemic. We have been granted a grant from the Tufts Foundation in order to address elder housing needs and growing and aging in community. We've been able to work with the Rhode Island Foundation to directly give our residents cash assistance. The Rhode Island Department of Health has been a strong backbone as well in order to get resources out into the community. Right now, during this pandemic, it's definitely resources, food, transportation, and what we can establish and do in order to get our residents to safe quarters, but also to be able to isolate and quarantine safely. We just expanded our reach. I know I mentioned the 4 neighborhoods that are our core neighborhoods. We're now working in 9 neighborhoods across the city of Providence to address some of the issues that have come to the surface with this pandemic.
Yeah, I think one thing that this pandemic has done is really brought to light the needs for many of our seniors that really went unspoken. When you work with seniors, you see it all the time. And one of the things that you just kind of touched on was the housing insecurity among our older adults. What can One Neighborhood Builders do in relation to seniors who are having challenges in the community who maybe aren't eligible for a wide variety of reasons, but they're not eligible for some of the services? Maybe they're not Medicaid eligible, or due to maybe mental health or cognitive impairment, they can't navigate the system. Does One Neighborhood Builder offer resources or help through their systems?
Yes, so we have a partnership with the Federal Hill House, and they have a Central Providence Healthy Aging Network that we helped start. And it's a village model And we have a community health worker in the city that is primarily focused on our senior population. I recently mentioned that the Tufts Foundation awarded us a $100,000 grant to address housing in the aging population in Rhode Island. So that just started in the spring, and the goal is to increase awareness, but also work on financing, housing typologies, home modification and enrichment in the state in order to address some of these needs. So we're really excited about this project. It just began in the spring, and we're hoping that in the future we're able to address some of these needs by way of changing the system, but also having concrete plans in order to address the housing instability for our seniors in the state.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that there are homeless seniors out there.
Yes.
And it's not something that we talk about. It's, sometimes we like to blame people when they're in a bad situation too often without really looking at the big picture. So I would love to be able to partner and work with you guys to really look at how can these systems be changed? What are the opportunities out there to really make it better for people? Sometimes folks need what you might perceive, you and I might perceive as small help, but in reality, that small piece is completely overwhelming. I just, read an article a couple weeks ago in regards to eviction notices, and people were being evicted because they couldn't afford $8 rent. And how often do we go to the local coffee shop and spend that and not even think about it? It's a reminder how blessed many of us are, and that there's a huge opportunity for us to be able to give back. So what are you guys, a nonprofit?
Yes, we are a nonprofit.
Okay. And as a nonprofit, if people, do you take volunteers? Do you need, what would help?
What would help? Support and encouragement, definitely during this time, and donations. One project that we're working on right now is a community Wi-Fi project, which you can find on our link on our website, where we are looking to raise money for the Olneyville community. It was found that about 40% of the Olneyville community do not have Wi-Fi access. And now that we are in this virtual world where everything relies on Wi-Fi, doctor's appointments, schooling, community connection, there are definitely a subset of our residents who don't have that access. So through One Neighborhood Builders, through generous donors, we are looking to upstand the ability for our community members to have free Wi-Fi. The goal is to have free Wi-Fi for 5 years in this community in order to address some of the barriers that they are currently having. So that is one initiative right now that we are working on top of many others. But we're finding that there's definitely a disparity in resources across the city, and being able to uplift those needs is definitely something that One Neighborhood Builders and the entire Central Providence Health Equity Zone is looking to do.
I am incredibly excited to hear about the municipal Wi-Fi. That is something that I've been having conversations with a lot of different organizations. Are you part of the Digi Age out of the Office of Healthy Aging?
No.
Okay, I'll get you connected there.
Yes.
That is one of those things that, there's a lot of people who are all going in the same direction, but maybe don't see each other. So we'll definitely get that connection made. I'm super excited to hear about your efforts. Because it's needed. We're doing a lot of telehealth these days. It is about social connectedness and reducing social isolation and loneliness across the board. We have, people who have small businesses who need internet connection. We have the kids who need it for school, because we might be going back to school in real life, but you can bet that there will at least at minimum be snow days. It's going to require technology. So yeah, that's huge, and that's amazing. And I also happen to have a fabulous website, rielderinfo.com, that really could use internet access for people to get to.
Absolutely. And that social Connectivity that you mentioned, Deb, is so important right now. You know, folks are alone. Folks are, you know, mental health is taking a really big hit for many of our folks and our people. So being able to have access to resources, communication, family is very much needed right now. So having that digital divide that we call it, you know, the folks that have access and those that don't, that definitely shows there's a huge disparity.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am really glad that you've been able to come on today and talk about One Neighborhood Builder. So if people needed to call you, reach out to you, is it the onenb.org or is there a phone number they should call?
That is us, onenb.org. We do have a COVID-19 rapid response page that lists a ton of resources. You can get in touch with our community health workers that way. You can find local testing sites, food pantries. As much information as we can gather, we share on that page.
Oh, great. So I'm just going to recap, make sure I got everything here. So One Neighborhood Builders can help with access to community health workers, and you really hear what's going on in the community and then see what resources in your community partners will be able to really meet those needs for folks and then identify the gaps.
Absolutely.
And who might be able to fill those gaps. And part of it is housing for you. Part of it is the Wi-Fi connectivity. Part of it is health. All those different pieces that go into health.
Absolutely. We do it all. We also deliver meals if we need to in order to keep those safe. You know, I definitely know it's a team effort, and our community health workers have driven a lot of positivity into the community during this time.
Yeah. And you know what? The reality is we are all in this together. Not one organization will be able to do everything. But if all of us are rowing the boat in the same direction, we're going to get a lot farther.
Absolutely.
Oh, Laurie, this has been great. And I would love to chat more with you offline about some of your initiatives. I really appreciate you coming out.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely.
Take care.
Thank you. So again, you know, having our Friday Friends on, getting the word out is so important. Who knew that this amazing organization is out there to be able to help people with these things? Friday Friends wouldn't be possible without our sponsor, the Visit Kit. And going forward, as you all know, on October 1st from 9 to 12, RI Elder Info, right here where you're watching me now, will be hosting our virtual senior resource fair. We have some amazing speakers. We're going to have an expert from the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services discussing the changes to your Medicare benefits in 2021. We will also have the director of the Department of Human Services, Long-Term Services and Supports discussing Medicaid. How do you apply for Medicaid? What does Medicaid cover? What does it not cover? And a wide variety of other speakers. And our senior resource fair would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. Our presenting sponsor is going to be Oak Street Health. I thank you all very much for joining us today. And I wish you a wonderful week and see you next Friday. Bye-bye.